Veve is continuing to grow, and that means there might be a lot of you out there who have gems ready to go, but really have no idea what to do with them and why you should be doing certain things. So in this video, I'm going to share with you what you should do if you have 1k gems right now and how to maximize your profits, longevity, and more on this app. So let's get started. Welcome in everyone, my name is Andy and I appreciate you taking some time out of your day to come watch this video on the channel. Just before we get going, if you do want to support me in this journey, you can hit that subscribe button or join the membership to help push this forward to where we want to get it to. We've already done one in this series where if you have 100 gems, what you should be doing with it and how you should be getting started with it. But understand that the market has pumped a little bit. There's maybe more of you who are selling some things off, maybe more of those who are getting into it now because they realize that it's moved to immutable, it's now on layer 2, and we're sort of allowing more money to come into this space. So today we're going to be focusing on if you have 1k in your vault at the moment and what you should maybe be doing with it as of right now to potentially make the most profit over the long run. The first one I'm always going to say for these videos is make sure you have enough for the drops. Now we're at a different stage where there are millions of people on the platform. There's probably going to be about 100,000 people minimum who will be going for each drop. So the chances of you getting it are a lot lower than they used to be. I know for me, I used to get most of the drops, maybe about 70 to 80% of them back in April and May time. Now I'm lucky if I get maybe 1 in 10. So there's definitely a shift in what you can get when it comes to it, but that does mean that your profit potential for this may be higher. As of right now, with having that opportunity of maybe like 1 or 2% chance of actually getting the drop, this is going to be a time where you can make more money when it comes to that. Because if you get lucky in a comic drop where you get an ultra rare or a secret rare, or if you manage to pull an ultra rare in a blind box for one of the drops that do happen, you could seriously improve the money that you've got and the liquidity that you have in your vault. So for me, one of my best rules that you can follow when it comes to the Veve app is just always have money for the drops that are set out. There's no point of buying everything up that you possibly can when you could actually double, triple, and even 100x some of the things that you get if you manage to get lucky enough in these drops. I'm not saying that you are going to get lucky, and I'm not saying it's likely that it's going to happen. It's just important to have that liquidity there in order to go for the drops, because you never know what can happen with it, and you might just manage to pull something that you never believed you could. So make sure you always have the money for that. And I'd always maybe set aside maybe about 150 gems maximum for the drops. There's some that are outliers, like the Walt Disney, which was at 333, but again, you don't often get that. The highest thing we saw recently was Ron English's sort of celebration art, which was 100. So maybe keep about 150 for drops at all times to make sure you're there and ready to go for it. The second thing we're going to talk about today is looking where nobody's looking. Now, just for you, yesterday I made a video on how to do exactly that, but I'm going to break it down a little bit for those of you who can't be bothered watching that full video. Fact of the matter is that most people pay attention to what everyone else is paying attention to. They sort of want to jump on the boat as the boat's leaving, instead of jumping in the boat when all the repairs are going on, no one's really around, and it's not looking that flashy. In the past, things like the Marvel Comics 1 and Fantastic Four 1 really didn't see daylight for a good few months. They sat at around 4 to 20 gems, and which was really high back in that day for sitting at 20 gems for Marvel Comic 1, and now it's above 200 gems. It's the things that you need to pay attention to more when others aren't. One of the best examples that I can give right now from what I've seen from market trends, and again, I'm going to reiterate it here, I have both of these and have multiples of them. It's not my intention to pump up the prices, it's just for your understanding. So if we take Deadpool and the Coca-Cola drops that have happened, everyone's focus was on Steamboat Willie. Every single person. People were making multiple videos on Steamboat Willie, why he was important, why he was significant. I even done the same. But that doesn't mean that Deadpool and Coca-Cola's drops aren't significant. We've seen in the past that things like Batman Black and White Series 5 and Catwoman both sat under retail for a long time. And even things like Captain America's common sat under retail for a long time, but it's now up to about 75 gems. So to me, things like Deadpool, who sat at 70 gems, and the Coca-Cola about 140, are something that is pretty low compared to what they could be at, especially in a few months from now when the supply lowers. This is why if you have that 1k gems right now, there's a lot of things out there that you can pay attention to that maybe many aren't. Things like the Marvel Mighty series are something that could maybe go underlooked at the moment, and just having a look around to see what people are paying attention to and why. Something as well like New Mutants with the comic book of Deadpool could be something that's quite undervalued right now, as it seems like the comic book character is actually pretty popular and maybe going overlooked. Because things like Marvel Comic 1 and Fantastic Four 1 are out there, and also right now everyone's paying attention to the grails, like the Batman Black and White series for Series 1, Secret Rare Spider-Man, and some other things that have been taking a pump over the last few days. These could be things that you could start paying attention to and make a lot of profit when they start to get the attention and when that boat actually starts to leave. For the third one, I'm going to do it a little bit differently as to the way I've done it with the 100 gems one, because you have more to play around with. You have more to understand. And what I would say is using 500 of those gems to learn the market through experience. The best way to learn out of any way I've ever learned in my life is through actually doing something, because then you get first-hand sort of pick at what goes on, why it goes on, and then understanding the mistakes that you made and the success stories that you had when it comes to it. So for you, when it comes to what you actually have, I would honestly start to look at trading yourself, trying to flip some things here and there, seeing why things increase in price, or maybe why it's not getting the attention it deserves right now. Why are people sought after this certain collectible, and maybe why should I buy a few of those to then flip in a month's time? This way you're going to be able to understand how the market works and why the market fluctuates in certain ways through your actual experience of doing so. You're going to be able to understand where you're happy with selling some things at, what percentage of profit you're willing to take, and if there's a time where you feel like selling off something for a loss is better if you're going to buy something that you see improving over the long run quicker. I'm going to be making a video on the basics of Veve when it comes to market strategies, and I have made videos on this before, but I do want to break it down even further and help you step by step understand that. But the true best way to learn in any marketplace or anything in the world is to actually do it. You can watch all the YouTube videos you want, you can listen to all the Twitter spaces you want, but at the end of the day, you're not going to learn the most unless you actually do it. So if you have that 1k gems right now, I would honestly say put 500 of those gems into learning to trade. I'm not saying buy something at 500 right now and just hope. I'm saying buy things that are a little bit cheaper so you can buy multiples of different things, comic books, commons, maybe a rare here and there, seeing why prices move the way they do, why supply moves the way it does, and keep track of the things that you're doing. You're then going to be able to not make the same mistakes as you have in the past, and why. One of the best examples I can give for this is maybe after the drops, buying as soon as the market opens, and you may have bought at 200 gems and it shoots all the way down to 90 before balancing itself and then slowly climbing back up to 150. You still made the wrong decision by buying at the 200, but at least you're learning how to actually trade and be better next time. That emotional brain will probably take over a lot in the beginning, and where you learn to become more logical with the decisions you make and why you're actually making them. If we're purely going for profit here, and I'm not talking about just collecting because you love it, which you should be doing, if we're going for profit, then we're going to have to learn and understand the market in a way that most can't. This is why watching videos like this and then going on to try your own experiences through it is going to be the best way that you're going to get the double whammy and learning all that you can, especially in the early stages when people are maybe not paying so much attention to what goes on and why. One of the best things that you can do as well, and I would recommend checking out, is auctions. Auctions are a great way to get profit. I just wouldn't recommend putting them up for auctions, because oftentimes you're not going to get the same price that you could if you put it up for a buy now. Yes, the buy now might take longer to sell, but it's more likely worth it if you're going to get more profit. However, auctions are often there to give you some deals that you might not quite expect. As of right now, auctions are really the best, where you can only set them up for 3 days, so you often have to wait a little bit longer in order to actually get access to them. But it's a fantastic way of actually seeing maybe some lower serial mints that you can get on a good deal. I actually managed to get a black and white Batman Series 1 Joe for around 390 gems back in the day, where he was sitting at around 310 at his base price, and that mint number was in the 300s. I know right now Joe's obviously taking a massive pump when it comes to his pricing. Even back then, paying 80 gems more at auction than something like the floor price for something like that low serial number is something I'm more than willing to do at plenty of times. And I actually started my whole journey by doing auctions. That was the best place that I could make the most profit, and people just weren't paying attention to it. So I got a lot of collectibles that I still hold today from the auctions because I paid attention to it, I understood it, and then I worked my way around it at certain times. Now granted, you are going to have to spend more time on the app doing this, so if you've got a little bit of free time or there's times that you can actually do it, I would recommend it. If not, you're most likely going to be focusing on the buy now sections of those. But understanding the market is probably going to be one of your best step ups compared to the average consumer, and how you're going to get ahead of the game quicker than they are. And the final thing that I'm going to cover today is making 1 or 2 single investments that you're making for the long run. I've covered probably what, 650 gems we've got so far, so we have a couple hundred to play around with, and there's still some fantastic deals under that price point. And I think it's always important to actually play the long game and understand what diamond hands is when it comes to this and how beneficial it can actually be. This is maybe deciding things that you love, but you also see growing in price because of the significance of the character over a longer period of time, and just seeing where the price goes and deciding to hold for that period of time. It might not be something that will be a quick profit, and it might not be something you actually plan to even sell for 5 or 6 years. But I always think it's important to get something in your vault that you truly admire and that you love to hold and collect, just to say that you do have it. This is still a speculative investment. We have no idea where it's going to go, but I think it's important to have something that you truly love. And the reason that you're on this platform is to collect and grow that community that you have. It might be hard on your budget, but if you are planning to collect maybe something, maybe look at collecting 2 of the same one. That means if it does go to a price point that you're happy with selling at, then you can sell it off, buy something else, and continue to grow your portfolio as you still have one in your vault. We often don't realize the emotional stress that we get when we are planning to sell something and we only have one of it. So if you do buy 2 of them and you want to buy 2 of them, then be sure to go ahead, as it will lower that emotional stress when it comes to a price point that you're actually okay with selling it at. There's nothing wrong with taking profits, and I don't think anyone should ever be shunned about taking profits when they're important to take. So by doing so, you're just allowing your portfolio to grow as a whole, giving you more buying power, liquidity, and just an option of doing other things. There's a lot of deals that happen in the marketplace each day, and most of us don't actually pay attention to it. But if we learn the market through those gems, we understand it more, and we're also collecting what we love, we're sort of getting a win-win-win situation with all of it. Veve is going to continue to grow, and over the course of 2022, I see it breaking records like no other, especially the records that they'd set last year when it came from like active users, retention rates, and just the sales that they're getting from the secondary market. There's going to be a lot coming this year, and understand that some of you have already been playing the long game, but there's a lot of new people who have just come in from the Disney moments and even the 12 days of Veve, or just found it out from somewhere like YouTube or Twitter. It's going to be a massive year for Veve, and there's going to be a lot going on. A lot of things are going to be dropping, a lot of things are going to be increasing in price, there's going to be a lot of FOMO and more. But I think the earlier you can become more educated on something, the better. This is why the people who have been in since maybe January to May are now seeing those massive benefits, because Veve had a lot of obstacles in order to get in, and as well still cannot take out cash. So now a lot of people who are in the crypto space are just not really excited about that, as they want their cash there and then, especially if they're a flipper. However, if you're someone who has to think about more long-term plays and understands that's an important aspect of any company actually succeeding over 5 and 10 years, then you'll know that Veve are something that is there not to be messed with. This is why I find it so important for you to do your research when it comes to this and get as much education as you can before potential masses actually come into this. And videos like these are going to help you understand that a little bit further, just to dip your toes in the water and actually see if it's something for you. But what do you think about this strategy when it comes to the 1K if you have it in your vault right now? Is it something you're going to follow, or is there something that I missed? I'd love for you to let me know down in the comments. I know the video on the screen right now will be something you'll love to watch. Have a fantastic day.